Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to Our Non-Toxic Podcast. I'm Hannah, and I want to apologize for the unorthodox outro for the last video and intro for this video. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, I am here in my office. I am not in the podcasting studio, and the reason for that is because Taylor and I recorded such a long episode because we were having so much fun chit-chatting that it ended up being well over 2 hours, and I like the episodes to be a little bit shorter just so I can keep them kind of bite-sized so that people can actually process the information and really, I don't know, just marinate on what the guests were saying and or myself. So it worked out perfectly because I'm actually about to fly out to Charleston tomorrow to see my brother, and I won't come back until Wednesday. So it works out great because I don't want to have to release a late episode and or miss the week. So that happened to just be fantastic. I just didn't record an outro or intro in the studio, so I'm recording them as I'm editing, which is why I didn't really look my best for the last one because I was just working from home, and this one is just me coming home from a work day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Before we begin, I have a few quick little updates. My ring, the one that I lost the diamond from, is in the shop, and it will take about 2 weeks to get fixed because I really did some damage on it. So be really cautious. Also, I didn't know this, and I don't know if this is applicable to other jewelers or just Mitchum, where I happen to have gotten my guards from. But if you go to get your ring cleaned, they automatically check all your prongs and make sure that they're nice and tight. So take this as a PSA. Go get your rings cleaned. Make sure they tighten up the prongs because you never know when one of those little stones is going to slip out. And unfortunately, you will not be able to turn that into insurance because in my case, my insurance guy told me that my copay would have gone up from $40 a year to $400 a year. And I think my exact words on the phone were, "I'm sorry, doesn't that seem a little preposterous to you?" To which he replied, "You're not wrong, but that's just how it is." So I went ahead and paid for that bad boy out of pocket because I'm not trying to increase my copay times 100. So gotta love that. And as an update, that is going to be the third thing in my list of 3 things that have gone expensively incorrect. If you guys have been watching the past couple episodes, you know that I had the air conditioning go out in our house, which we had to pay for because homeowners insurance and warranties don't cover that. I also had to fix the brakes and rotors on my car. Not pleasant. And then I lost the diamond out of my ring. So I am straight up not having a great time. I also did the hardest workout of my life on Monday with my friend Angela. Shout out to you for torturing me, even though I can't really complain because I did say yes to it. We decided to work out together because we are always up in each other's DMs like, "Get it, girl, great workout, you look amazing." And we finally decided to just go ahead and be offline friends, which is amazing. And the workout that she proposed was, it's called the world's hardest mile. It's basically 1 lap of burpees, 1 lap of lunges, 1 lap of bear crawls, and 1 lap of like run/sprint, but it's basically a run because you can't sprint at that point. And I was like, yeah, for sure, because I'm delusional, and for some reason I don't really have a concept of how hard things actually are, so I just thought, how hard can it be? I will somehow be able to do it. It's not that big of a deal. I'm also coming back from a trip at this point where I was eating and drinking all weekend and lounging in the sun and not doing anything fit. Well, actually, I did a hike and Pilates, but not anything fit on that level. So when she suggested that, I was like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. And turns out I have never been more sore in my entire life. The burpees were actual hell on earth. I thought I was going to collapse multiple times, but of course, Mama didn't raise a quitter. She might have raised a big dumb idiot, but she didn't raise a quitter because now I can say that I finished the workout. We couldn't do bear crawls though. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my hand is still like scarred/scabbed because we burnt our hands on the black asphalt because again, we are dumb. We are fit and we are motivated, but we are very not smart. So we had to stop and we replaced the bear crawls with planks. So we did planks on all of the 4 corners of the 100 meters in the track. So we effectively hit every single muscle group in the body. I have seriously been waking up in the night because I go to roll over in bed and I can't. I have to do like an 18-point roll just to get from one side to the other because I'm so stiff and sore. And for reference, it's now Friday. That workout was on Tuesday and I'm just not having a great time. So I also think I have a kidney infection. More on that later. I'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, ring in the shop, body so sore I can't even move. Everything else seems to be going okay, knock on wood. I finished all my work for the week before I fly out. This is my last trip for quite some time because I'm tired of seeing the inside of an airport in the best way. I've had so many great memories. We've definitely been live, laugh, loving. I need to not have to check in for a flight for a while. I just mentally can't pack anymore. My parents took my bag with them because they were so generous as to offer to drive out my bag so I wouldn't have to check it. The only problem with that was that I had to pack on Wednesday, and the flight isn't until Saturday. And ordinarily, when I have an evening flight on a Saturday, I would be packing on Saturday morning. But I just couldn't make myself wait and pay the extra $40 to check a bag, knowing that that was completely my choice and that I had the option to do it for free just because I didn't want to pack several days early. And the only problem is that really my brain doesn't function that far in advance. So before I go on a trip, usually I have to like consult my Pinterest board, think through what we're doing, look at the itinerary, think about, what kind of things that we have on the agenda, what things might pop up spur of the moment, whatever, and pack accordingly. In this situation, I was still focused on work mode and concert mode and everything else mode, so I hadn't really had a chance to correctly process and anticipate the outfits that I would need. So if I get to Charleston tomorrow and realize that my previous self, my past self from 2 days ago, didn't pack appropriately, I guess I'll have no choice but to go shopping. Also, my backpack is going to be about 15 pounds because it's going to have all my toiletries in it. And like I said, I think I have a kidney infection. So we're going to not have a great time with that. But there's things to do, people to see, Instagram photos to take, the beach to attend, and we're just going to power through it. So I'll keep you posted. The next episode following this one will be an update on both trips, both the girls and the Charleston trip. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Big shout out to Taylon again. She's incredible. I am deeply, deeply sorry to those who tuned in exclusively to hear her story. And she's beautiful, eloquent, fantastic, successful, and you guys had to hear me talking about my packing issues and my health issues and my financial issues. So without further ado, here is the one and only Taylon Sumners-Schwartz. She's fantastic. Thank you so much again for giving your time to us and for telling us all about your amazing professional journey. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful week and enjoy the episode. Bye.
Okay, so tell me how after law school, where did you go work? What was your experience like? Was it a big or small firm? And let's go through that journey.
So with law school, once you graduate, you have to take the bar. I graduated during COVID. Like literally they sent us out for spring break and then they told us not to come back. So like all my stuff was still in my apartment in Topeka. It's COVID. Like doing online classes, all my classes switched to pass fail. That was amazing. I was able to go back to the firm, which did strictly criminal defense here in Springfield, and like live at home and kind of continue doing what I was doing. Ended up like buying a house in Springfield, which was also like excellent decision.
Power move, by the way.
If you have like the resources, that would be my one. Like also, I mean, I'm full of advice over here.
Oh yeah.
But basically, I would say like buy a freaking house because whenever you sell that house, you're like investing in something,
right?
And that was a really good financial decision for me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I went back, studied for the bar. So you study for the bar for like 3 months, right? Like you graduate law school, you immediately start studying for the bar. There is no, and that is your full-time job. Like you really should not be like working while you're studying the bar, in my opinion.
Really? Wow.
You're basically fitting 3 years of schooling into one exam. That's literally like, I think it's a 2-day test if I remember. I try to forget because it's a traumatic experience.
Yeah, I repressed it.
It was like leading up to it every single day. We didn't know if it was going to get canceled because of COVID, and other schools were canceling it.
Do you take it at your university or do you take it? Oh.
You take it in the state you want to be in, which they're, except for like California and a few other states, like if you get a high enough score, you can transfer your score and work in other states.
Okay.
But like California doesn't do that, and they have a terrible pass rate because of their own bar. And it's
right.
stupid.
So you have to go to a certain, is like a designated testing location?
So
okay.
I went to Columbia, but they had split us up. So some people were in Columbia, some people were at Lake of the Ozarks, which like, thank God I was not at Lake of the Ozarks. I don't think I would have been able to concentrate.
Right.
But yeah, so it's 2-day test. It's horrible. We had to wear masks for the whole time. So I literally did my hair in these like buns so that the mask wouldn't be like pulling on my ears.
That's
while I'm
smart.
trying to, like, take this test. I looked like, what does my husband say? I don't watch Star Wars, but
Princess Leia. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't watch it.
Oh, you know, I got you. Yeah.
But
that's innovative though, to make sure it's not like rubbing on your ears to distract you.
Yeah, it was just such a stressful.
Is it a short answer? I have some
everything.
Okay,
Like,
so multiple choice, short answer essay.
Multiple
And there's
choice.
a interview component, isn't there?
No interview.
Okay.
Just multiple choice, short answer.
No. I'm thinking of
essay.
Suits whenever Mike Ross was found out to be a fraud, and then he had the interview.
Yeah,
That's my mistake.
I was like, I used to watch Suits, like whenever it was on TV.
Yeah.
My dad and my sister and I would all watch it like every night, which really did not
Prepare you.
It didn't prepare me.
You're like, where's my hot rich boss? What's going on here?
Yes,
Yeah.
like,
Where's my
where
Harvey
is my
Specter? Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so that test is terrible. Like so then you take it in July. You graduate in May, you take the test in July. If they would have canceled it, the next test that you can take, I think, is like in December and then February. But like there's no like you get a bar prep course, which fun fact, you graduate, then you have another $3,000 in right off the bat to another course, which Washburn, shout out to them, they just started including it in their tuition. Like
oh, that's amazing.
Course.
Yeah.
And I was like,
wait,
brilliant.
yeah.
Like, but you wait until after I graduate to do that. It's
Yeah,
fine.
whatever.
But yeah, so basically there's no like schedule for how to study for it if that would have happened. So that was super stressful. You're like staying the night in a hotel. Like it just, the whole thing is so, they were like taking temperatures. Like if you had a temperature, you wouldn't have been allowed to sit for the test. You would have had to
You're
wait.
like chilling your face and body beforehand.
I'm literally like blow drying my face.
Yeah.
Like whatever you can do. But then you wait. Like you take it in July, you don't get your results till September. So you're like working at a place, but you could freaking get fired.
Not know that if you didn't have
because
it,
you
have
don't pass
longevity.
the bar.
Wow.
It is terrible. Like
Why
way
does
they
it
have it set up is so.
Oh man. So you're still working at the same firm at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
still working. I went from the year that I was off. Because whenever I first started, I was like shining shoes, whatever.
Right.
Then became a paralegal, legal assistant. So I was like helping with case preparation, getting to like go to depositions and like sit in, which was like incredible experience. Getting to go to trials. And then in September, whenever I passed, I passed on like a Thursday or Friday. Monday, they were like, okay, you've got a reappearance in court. And I'm like, a what? Like, what's a reappearance? Like, it's a lot of like being an attorney is just going to court and like getting a new date for your case and like looking at everybody's calendars to make sure it works. Like, that is probably like 75%.
Really? That's so interesting.
TV gets it wrong. Like they're not going to show you sitting around with the judge.
Right. It's a lot more like
does this day
paperwork
work
and
for you?
Oh,
Are
that's
you on
so
vacation this
no,
day?
because you get used to seeing it in court where everything is a power move. You walk in, you give your like heavy hitting one liner, the judge says, all right, whatever, and then you leave. And that's it. So it's so interesting to see how much of it is just like the menial logistical things.
Yes. And I think like some like courts around here are doing a lot better job with that because they're doing a lot more virtual because of COVID. Because like after COVID, it was like, oh, law school can't be online. Well, people had to do law school online.
Like, I think
so yes,
it
they
can.
can.
Yeah.
Like, oh, people can't do a reappearance online, like virtually.
Yeah.
Well, because of COVID, that's what everybody was doing. So some courts have been like really accommodating.
Right.
And it like just you're not spending as much money like for your client. You're not wasting a bunch of time. For,
resources,
like, the court. Yeah, like
interesting.
it makes so much more sense to do it like that. But then also on TV, it shows everything happening really fast. Like,
oh yeah,
there are cases that will go on for years.
Yeah.
Like, with no resolution, which is not, I mean, like the wheels of justice are not always fair and they are not always quick.
Yeah.
They're slow.
Yeah.
Like, slow and painful.
And what are the reasons that things take so long? Is it just because people keep requesting dates to be changed? Is it like what drags these things out?
Some people are really good at requesting new dates.
Yeah.
and
Well, I'm
getting
sure
what
that's
they want with
that's a
the new
strategy
date.
of its own. Like if you don't have a good solution, maybe even in your side, your specialty in criminal defense, if you can't really defend, can you just prolong?
I mean, you shouldn't. You should never,
Right.
like, every time you file a motion, you've got to put, like, this is not, or at least, like, a motion to reset the case. It's like, this is not for vexation or delay. I don't really know what vexation means, but I know what delay
I
means.
do know that if it's vocab word, if something vexes you, it like really just pisses you off.
Yes. Okay. So you're not doing it with, like, ill will, maybe.
Yes.
But then also you're not doing it to delay. But, like, so with criminal defense, like, well, okay, so a couple different things I would say. One is like you need to get paid. Like your client probably cannot come up sometimes with the money to pay you right away. So if you appear on the first court date, and I'm not saying that people do this, but like if you appear on the first court date, nobody probably has all of the stuff ready to go anyways.
Yeah.
Like they probably don't have all the reports. You probably haven't received them. You haven't had time to look at them. Your client hasn't seen them. So like there are like legitimate reasons to do it, but also it's like, okay, you might need a little bit more time to earn that fee because you can't just do your one appearance. I mean, you can try. That's not gonna go well for you if you're like, well, I only appeared one time, but I charged you $10,000 and I think I should keep all $10,000. You're not keeping all $10,000.
Right, right.
The other part of it is if you like have a client that's looking at probation, whether it's like misdemeanor probation or felony probation, like you need to set them up for success. That's what you should be thinking about. And so, for example, like if you have a client with a DWI, there's a lot of things that like the state will ask for them to do anyways. Like they need to take a class, they need to do community service. Like my thought process has always been like they should do all of that in advance so that whenever the case is resolved, all they have to do is just be good. Yeah. Like I don't want
stay out
them
of
to
trouble.
have any other pressures besides just like be good. You've done everything you have to do. Be good. Or you have to like convince the judge or the prosecutor like, hey, take a chance on this person. Don't put this on their record. Well, if they've just sat around for 6 months,
it doesn't really show that they're willing to change and not make it a repeat offense.
So there's a lot of reasons, I think, like, and then if a trial is inevitable, well, then you have to do, like Missouri has, where you can do depositions. And I think they show some of that, like, on Suits. They sometimes show that. Yeah. Depositions are amazing. Not every state lets you do that in a criminal case. Missouri does. That is how you should, like, know under oath what the person's going to say before they say it in trial. Because it's always, like, for cross-examination, which is a lot of what I do, it's like, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. Well, how are you going to know the answer? Well, you're going to depose them, see what they're going to say, which we also in Missouri, like, I mean, a lot of places have preliminary hearings, which is basically like, do you have probable cause? Like, did you have probable cause to arrest this person?
Like, is it worth taking it to a full?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with that, with the probable cause, well, like in St. Louis, they're so busy, they just do grand jury indictments. Well, that means you get no preliminary hearing. So you may not have ever even seen these witnesses that are saying you did all of these things to them until trial, which is like terrifying. So that's why you do depositions.
Yeah.
So in that, there can be a lot of like preparation that goes into it.
That's really interesting. I want to backtrack for a second. So you're in criminal defense law. Was this always what you wanted to go into, or did you have a different specialty in mind, or was this just kind of where you got your job? How did you land here?
So I think I always knew that I wanted to be an attorney. I don't know that I always knew I wanted to be an attorney for the right reasons. I think that revealed itself later on. Yeah.
Yep.
I want to say it was like second or third grade. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. But that's because remember, like, really, like, I think my dad would be happy with whatever I did. I mean,
but it's one of the three professions where it's like, you want your kid to be like a doctor, a lawyer, or an athlete, maybe. Like, you want your kids to do those things.
You
and
think
it's
of,
so.
Like, the immigrant parent, like what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, I've worked so hard for you. You, like, almost need to repay.
You owe me this. Like, make the most of the opportunities that I fought to give you, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, I mean, my mom was a nurse for like 25 years. She was a nursing professor, had her master's, like, super incredible woman. But she, it was like, I knew I wasn't going to do that because I can't do blood. Which is funny because I actually deal with blood on a regular basis in this profession. Like, literally going to, like, pull tubes of blood for DWIs to, like, see if they drew the blood right.
Oh my gosh.
Is, like, disgusting, but I guess it's not like live.
At least, like, but still, it's like,
out,
you got to think about it like, oh, this is just more evidence.
Yeah.
It's just, that's it.
So I guess and like pictures, things like that, I guess I can separate those. But so I was like, well, I know I'm not going to be a doctor. So I guess the next best thing would be like, be a lawyer. I want to help people.
So almost like just chasing success and whatever means fits you the best.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Exactly. And so I was like, well, this seems really good. But then I don't think I really like thought about what that meant because like you can be different types of attorneys where you don't ever have to be in a courtroom.
Right.
Well, shoot, I was not like public speaking. I was not on speech and debate in high school. I was not like doing public speaking events for like that didn't sound fun to me. That still does not necessarily sound fun. I'll do it, but I wouldn't say that's my like, idea of a good time. And so it's really interesting because with criminal defense, you're in the courtroom all the time.
Right.
So how did I do this?
It would be probably that, and then what, like maybe like divorce proceedings, but even I guess that wouldn't be, it's fine. I knock things over all the time. Usually it's me and this plant having a feud, but I moved it back this time. But I feel like what would the other types of law be that where you're in the courtroom that much?
Where you're in the courtroom
Yeah.
that much? I mean, I guess if you weren't doing criminal defense, like still criminal, you could, if you're a prosecutor, you're in there like every day.
But besides that, I would think corporate is
civil,
settled because with my extensive suits background, but if it's a corporate type of law, you'd think that you would be like settling offline or off.
Yeah, if you can work it out. I mean, like, so I would say, gosh, maybe like copyright and like patent law, you're not probably going to see a courtroom, I would guess. But
And
like
even like divorcing.
divorce, you'll be in court, but I mean, you can, that's going to be probably more, maybe not more settled, but it's not, you're not in court the same rate as like criminal. I think criminal, you're in court the most, but then you go to like civil litigation, like you hear all of the ads everywhere and see the billboards. And so there, you know, it's probably less likely. Like most cases don't go to trial, but you still might be.
And whenever
court.
you specialize, let me dip into my medical education, which is from
yes, please.
18 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. So I know you can specialize like in your education and the medical field. Do you have to choose your specialty with law beforehand, or do you just choose it with how you get hired onto a firm?
I think it's how you get hired. And
okay. So you all graduate on a level playing field. You all are you're just lawyers.
You just
and
then figure out like where you intern. And so they always are like, get this internship here, get this internship here, so that you can figure out like what you want to do.
And you were a runner for criminal defense, so you just got into it that way.
That, and whenever I was at Nebraska, I did volunteer work, like, which I probably would have majored in criminal justice, but I didn't really know about it. I just liked my intro to sociology class, loved my professor.
You said this will play. I like this.
I was like, this is fine. This is so interesting. Meanwhile, my parents were like, you didn't get a business degree, you'll never get a
They
job.
said, what is sociology?
Yes, literally, that was like the follow-up question. Like, and what are you going to do with this? And how did these people find work? Like, no business degree, which business was like, I tried. I gave it like.
College try, that's it.
Yeah, I gave it my best of like, is this interesting to me? No. So that wasn't going to happen for me. But
I also love that because I feel like there's so much pressure as an attorney to then be like, what did you study? What is your degree? And it has to be very like prestigious and everything else. And you just were like, that's
political
not interesting.
Science. Or they have like, oh my gosh, people have like pre-law degrees. And I'm like, is that a degree?
Yeah, like, is that helpful? They have bachelor's degrees for anything right now. My brother, he's going to a liberal arts school and his degree was finance and he transferred and his degree didn't transfer. So now I think he's like an intro to communication and human sciences or something. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Just combining it all together. Like,
those are just words. Those are, like what is it?
Whatever will work.
Yeah. So anyways, that's besides the point. So.
Well, basically, whenever I was there, I got in with this amazing professor, Dr. Perry. He was there was a maximum state penitentiary, like male prison, which you have people in there that are serving life.
Yeah.
And it's just like ironic, I guess is the term, but he had a group of students that was teaching criminal justice to inmates.
Wow.
And so I would go, I think it was like every Tuesday or Thursday night, we would go, and it was incredible, but like...
Terrifying?
Yes, because you are thinking, I had been to the jail. Actually, I don't think I had ever been to the jail with the firm that I was with. So this was like my first experience. I mean, we were walking the yard right after dinner where people could like yell things at you. And then you sit down in a classroom. They're not like in handcuffs or in shackles.
Right.
Like, you're just all kind of open. I don't know if they'd still...
Did you feel
they're still doing it like that?
Were you comfortable with that? Was it terrifying?
It was... I would say it was terrifying at first, but whenever I say that these people were more respectful to me than the people that I would see on the street that are like catcalling and being ridiculous, like even the people that like sit behind keyboards and say terrible things, like it completely changed my perception. And then talking to them and their like desire to learn, but also their like acceptance of where they were, but not letting that define them. I just kind of was like, and then hearing their stories about like, did their attorney do a good job for them? Did they not?
Right.
Like, did they actually care what happened to them, or did they just see like a dollar sign?
Yeah.
And I think that's what really did it. And then being able to work on so many like big cases with the firm that I was at for 9 years, I think it was just like,
yeah.
Yep, this is the only thing I'm going to do. So I went straight out of law school, straight back to that firm. I was lucky to have a job, but I kind of like always knew that that was.
Okay, so I have a hard time conceptualizing what danger is sometimes. So if I were in that situation, I think that I would walk in and feel so indifferent to the risk, because it's so hard to think like someone could have died at the hands of these people in this room. Someone could have been assaulted. It's really hard to conceptualize that, especially as somebody who kind of lives like a relatively sheltered life and, you know, in the Midwest and everything else. I've not fortunately been in a situation that would really open my eyes to like the violence of people. So I think that it would be so difficult to walk in there and then think, he killed someone, he did this, he robbed this. It would be very challenging for me to really understand the gravity of that. So to think that, how do you reconcile, one, understanding like what the people that you're in front of are capable of and feeling how scary that is, but then also understanding that they're people and they're humans and there's a story behind all of it. How do you kind of deal with all of those emotions with the people that you defend?
I think that like there's the whole nature versus nurture argument, you know? And it's like, I don't think that anyone is like an inherently bad person because I think you can trace back any bad thing that someone does. Like, even if they do this horrible thing, like it's probably going back to some trauma that they had in their life. Like, were they sexually abused? Like the number of people that commit crimes that have been sexually abused or like had just like not a stable upbringing. Like so we did like a little graduation party for me at my parents' house. And I remember sitting on the porch with all my friends because like I didn't get like the real graduation until I think it was like after we took the bar and everything because of COVID. And I was just like, yeah, but this is kind of like what I was gonna do, right? Yeah. Like because of how I was raised, which like lots of opportunity, right? But like people don't always have that opportunity. And so I think to just assume like there's always something behind it, whether it's like drug addiction, there's always some
mental
sort of
illness, trauma. Yeah.
Yes. Like I think everybody probably that's like incarcerated right now has some sort of mental illness. And so I'm probably the same as you in the fact that I can be a little bit like
naive almost is how
like,
I am.
Because you grow up, like where did you grow up at again?
Nixa.
Okay.
So not quite as small as Aurora, but it's still smallish.
Still, like small enough where you're not seeing a bunch of like
you can leave your door unlocked probably. Like it's gotten a little bit worse, but like for the most part, it's a pretty. I mean, I would go running and not think about. You know, it's a relatively safe area, so you don't really think that those things actually happen.
Right. So then whenever you're like face to face with a person, like, and I always try to give, like, I don't know. I think there's so many things that like shape your life. And so like losing our office manager, like Shauna, she lost her life to her husband in a murder suicide. And that has been like probably the most traumatic thing that has ever happened in my life at that point. And that was like a year into practicing law. And then literally in that same year, D, who was an idol, he died of a heart attack. This is all in my first year of law. So then it's just me and my law partner at that point. Well, I wasn't partner, but I mean, it was just me and my boss. And like, that was it. And we lost him in the middle of a murder trial. And so I think it takes a long time. Like I can't pretend to like know what other people have been through. So I'm not going to look at someone who's been the victim of a crime and say, hey, like you shouldn't react like this. This is unnecessary because guess what? Like I haven't had that shared experience. And so I think not having that has shaped my life a lot, but also I'm not going to sit here and say, well, because Shauna went through that, I can't take DV cases, like domestic violence cases.
Right.
I think you have to like separate the two. And I think this job is so amazing because you get to know people on like a very deep personal level and you get to know their family. And that's always the most challenging to me is like, you know, the fact that people have family that like still stand beside them whenever they're accused of doing these terrible things. And then you're like watching their family go through it. It just like, they deserve a good defense. And that's what the Constitution says. And so I think whenever you accumulate all those things and people say like, oh, how could you defend this person? It's like, look, I'm not going out there saying that they didn't do, I mean, maybe I am saying they didn't do anything wrong. Right. I'm saying like, can they prove?
Yes.
Can the state prove? So people get mad whenever quote unquote, like, you know, I don't want to say whenever innocent people get locked up, but like if people don't get as much time as they want them to get, or if people, you know, think that the defense attorney like got away with some dirty trick, I'm over here like, okay, it is the state's burden to like prove their case.
Right.
And if they can't prove their case, this person, like the Constitution says that this person should not go to prison. Like,
Right.
so talk to the people that you're electing. Like,
Yeah.
And
on the one hand,
attorney's job.
I can see why people would think, you know, someone is so clearly guilty and because of a legality or a technicality or something else, then they get away with it. But if you think about the implications on the flip side, if we didn't have such a stringent legal system where you actually have to very clearly prove what has happened in a way that the jury can get behind, then they could throw anybody in jail.
Right.
And if you think about, you know, in some situations you might look at a violent crime or you might look at something where someone is very clearly guilty and the reason that they aren't being, you know, punished or arrested for the duration of what people think that they should be, then maybe it's frustrating. But the flip side, if we lived in a society where you could just take someone and be like, oh yeah, well, I think she's guilty, she deserves more, with no proof, then what does that mean for all of us, you know?
Right.
So,
and I think it gets really like, I 1000% like support what they did with the Me Too movement. I think that just the openness of communication, like not to go off topic, but like I was telling you this early, like, I mean, like the bravery and courage that it takes to like get out there and share your story, like what you've done, and even like some of the things that you and Bree have talked about on this podcast. Like that's why I've been such a big fan, because there's so many things that like people aren't brave enough or courageous enough to talk about. But right now in our society, people will say things and they won't have any, like, because they can sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I've seen the person that did commit murder go away because they committed murder. I have also seen the person who almost had their entire life ripped away because their daughter was sleeping with an older man, and so they blame the dad for everything. And then the dad gets charged with these heinous sex offenses, and your life, like, you're being looked at just because this person has said something, and then it's not true. And I'm not saying that, you know, everything has to be taken seriously.
Right.
You have to investigate everything. But I think for someone to just be allowed to come out and say this,
and it's taken as fact.
Then, it's okay. Well, they said it. It has to be true. You have to have somebody in your corner.
Yeah.
Like, and guess what? If it's not me, it's going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And wouldn't I rather them, like, I think I'm at the point where I'm like, I would rather it be me, because I know how I'm going to treat this person, and I know the time and attention and focus that I'm going to give to their case, but also the compassion that I'm going to show them throughout this process.
Right.
And I'm not going to assume that, like, this is not an easy process. And people do not know, because whenever you watch TV, it's like, well, trial was yesterday. Like, it all happened in one episode. I don't understand why we're 6 months in. This happened in an episode. And it's like, I mean, do you want it? Like,
you want it to be fast? Yeah.
Like, do you want, I mean, they're not offering you to, like, just walk away.
Well, with certain things, like, you don't want your trial to just be like that. You don't want your surgery to just be like that. Like, you want people to take their time, do it how it's supposed to be done, and really look at every detail. Follow-up question that might be kind of difficult. Have you been in a situation where you're representing someone that you believe is guilty, but your job is to obviously get them the lesser sentence or get them the least? How do you handle that if you've been in that situation?
I have been in that situation. One of the hardest cases that I had, and I don't think I was an attorney yet whenever I was working on it, but I think I was, like, in law school, so I was doing, like, legal stuff for it, was a child that starved to death. Literally, a child in, like, a family of, like, 6 starved to death, like a 1-year-old. And they were going to, like, a massive church. They were taking the child to church every week. No one said a thing. And you have this child that literally is, like, skin and bones. No one said anything. And then, of course, whenever it's, like, revealed, everyone's up in arms. And I'm like, well, wait a second.
How many
All
sets of hands did this fall through?
Yes. Like, how many people got to, like, hold this child and nobody thought this was odd? But in that situation, like, first of all, that person had a severe mental health issue, which is always the case. And so, I mean, almost always the case. Like, people are just not out here, like, from my perspective, from what I've seen in 9 years of being around this, like, doing things just, like, to do them.
Yeah,
right,
right.
Just, there's something else there. But, I mean, obviously, like, that happened. The child was in their care and custody. So then you're always looking at, like, what can they prove? Like, because just like someone that has committed a crime should, like, be held accountable, you also don't want, like, the government shouldn't be allowed to just have like just because they say it,
Yeah.
this should happen.
Straight to jail. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
the
that's
problem.
why the Constitution exists, is because you have the right to a fair trial. You have the right not to incriminate yourself. And you have the right to like freaking be presumed innocent. And so if you think that my client did this, like, you better prove it. And you better do a damn good job of proving it.
Right.
Because guess what? If I don't do my job and you don't do your job, then they're going to be back on the street. And that's not my fault. Like, so do a good job. Like, do a good investigation. Don't give me things to argue about.
Right. I almost see it. This might be completely not an astute observation, but the way I see it, you're a criminal defense attorney, but you're almost defending liberty in a way and making sure that you're preserving the Constitution, you're preserving this system that's supposed to, yes, prosecute and ensure that criminals that are dangerous are behind bars, et cetera, but you're also making sure that people are upholding the lack of an emotional decision.
Right.
So you can't just say because this was heinous, this was awful. Yes, it might be, but it's more nuanced than that, because as much as I would love to say anyone who commits domestic violence, anyone who commits sexual assault, anyone who commits murder, throw them all behind bars. Like I said earlier, the implications of not going through due process with all of that is that we would just live in a society where anyone can be locked up for accusations, which is very scary. So I think that, yes, you're defending criminals, but you're also just defending the Constitution and making sure that people are getting what they're entitled to do, entitled to have as far as their freedoms and their, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I feel like
it does, because it's so much deeper than just, and it's like, if you or your loved one, like, because everybody thinks, oh, this isn't going to happen to me, this isn't going to happen to me, and then they get a DWI and they're like, well, I want a criminal defense attorney. Well, oh no, if you had it, if some people had it their way, you don't get an attorney, you're just locked you up. Well, guess what? That cop might have done something wrong. Or maybe, like, there's a lot of like mitigating factors that go into, that should be considered, because you don't just want to be like, everybody is a person and everybody is human. And so, yes, there are some like really challenging cases and there are some really challenging fact patterns, but at the end of the day, like, we have this document and it says that you're entitled to a fair trial, and that's what you should get. And if it's you or your loved one in this situation, even though people think, oh, this will never happen to me, well, guess what? Whenever it does, you want someone in your corner that cares about the Constitution. And so you can, people can think whatever they like. Oh, are you out there like defending guilty people? I don't know, maybe, but have they been found guilty? Because guess what? That's what has to happen. But then I've also had the cases that are really difficult where I don't think the people are guilty and they get found guilty. And that is that's the hard stuff.
How do you handle being someone who's an empathetic, kind person in a field where you probably have to have a quick emotional recovery and not take that home with you? Is that something that you struggle with? Because I think it would be very quick. Like, it could rule your life if you let it, and to take all the outcomes home with you and everything else. How do you separate from who you are, I guess, in the courtroom versus at home?
I would say I have a really, really good support system. I think that, like, having people, like, I don't know, having my husband who went to law school, like, he doesn't do anything like what I do. He does only civil stuff. He'll do everything but criminal. Like, honestly, if you get a traffic ticket, he's probably, like, not interested.
He said, miss me with that.
He wants nothing to do with it. So it's nice to have someone that I can, like, talk to that kind of understands what you've gone through, like, building those relationships, having outlets that are healthy, that's not just drinking. I mean, I love a bottle of wine,
of course, right?
Gin, whiskey,
right?
But,
all of the above.
Yes, but having like healthy outlets, which is something that I've worked on in therapy too. And so having therapy, even just like getting into therapy, really, like, I think the way that I've become like comfortable is like, did I do the best that I could? Sometimes it's really hard to remember that, but it's like, did I do everything that I could for this person? Because if you didn't, that's where the real hang up is. Like, that's why I always say, which hopefully like 50 years down the road, I'm not like a judge or something. I really don't want to be a judge, but I always am like, I'm glad that I'm not the judge.
Final,
and I'm glad that I'm not the jury, because I don't have to live, like, I can live with knowing that I did my best for this person.
And you're just a cog in this legal machine. Like, it doesn't all come down to you.
I didn't make that final decision where I found that person guilty who maybe wasn't guilty, or where I took this person away from their kids. Like
Yeah.
right, wrong, or indifferent. Like I think that's how
That would be a tough
cope
thing
with
to
it.
stomach, to think that you're the one who's made all these decisions and these outcomes. I don't think.
I can't even imagine doing that. And I know, like, we have wonderful judges in Southwest Missouri. I'm not just saying that, but I think we really do. But that's just not something that I think I can take home with me.
Okay, I have a lot of questions. I know that
You're
we don't have
fine.
endless
Fine.
time. Okay. One, you're leaving to start your own law firm. You have already left. How did you make that decision? Tell us about your firm and everything surrounding that.
Okay, so I was at this firm for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
I left, I think I gave my 2 weeks in April. That was never, I am
Right after we had coffee.
Yes,
I think
right after
you said, oh, by the way, I
we
quit
had
my job
coffee.
yesterday.
Yes, I think I was like, yeah, I just had my last day of my 2 weeks. That was never the plan at all. Like, I think that I could have just, because you do what you're expected to do. You don't go and quit. You're not a quitter. You're not raised to be a quitter, right? So that's culture. That's how I was raised. Like, we don't quit here. We just keep going and put your head down, and one day maybe it'll get better. But that's the thing. It wasn't getting better.
Yeah.
I did not like the version of myself that I was becoming while I was there. I think a lot of it had to do with the office environment. It was not, it was not a good environment. Especially just being like a young female attorney. You might think, oh, if you're working in an office with like other women, like staff, like guess what? Not everybody wants you to succeed. And they will do things to try to help you not succeed, which is really hard to swallow.
Especially when you're already fighting an uphill battle every day with the nature of your profession. You don't need to fight an uphill battle at work.
Right. And imposter syndrome and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had to do some real like thinking of like, do I even like being an attorney? Is this for me? Like, am I even good at this? Like, should I just go? And, this was one of the things we talked about. Like, I think you like have a part of yourself that knows that you're like meant for more, whatever more looks like to you, or that you're meant, like you have this thing to offer society, and you know that you have to offer it, and you know that you have to step up and do it. Whereas like, I think that people that are stay-at-home moms are amazing, and I think that they have that in their being, that they know that that's like
What they're meant for.
Yeah, what they're meant for and what they want to do. And I just don't have that in me. And it's not any easier than what I'm out here doing. Like, I would say it's all equally very difficult.
Just different hard. Yeah.
It's a different hard. And so it was like, I don't think that at least right now, like, that's not for me. So then I'm like, is it the practice of law that I don't like? Or is it this situation that I'm in where I'm literally driving 45 minutes up, 45 minutes back to basically go to a place to be disrespected almost every single day, where I'm like literally listening to like Lord Huron, Not Dead Yet, that song, like
You're like
starting the day. There was like this.
You're Ben Affleck smoking a cigarette, walking in. You're like, all right, let's do this, I guess.
Yes, like literally listening to pump up songs to like get me through the door every day. It was such like, it became a really isolating, unhappy environment. And I started reading that book, The Way of Integrity. And I'm reading that and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like opening my eyes. Like, does it have to be like this? Is this like society and culture, like big society person, like telling me, hey, you can't do anything different? And then I'm watching my husband literally flourish at his firm. He is at an incredible firm that has taken such good care of him because he moved here from Overland Park. And so I'm watching him come home like happy and joyous every day. Meanwhile, I'm coming home every day with like the new drama, the new sabotage.
Just drained.
Just like, I have nothing left to like give whenever I get home. And I'm having all these conversations. Meanwhile, my sister's like in the background, like, quit your job, grow out your hair, like everything's going to be okay. And then I have a conversation with someone after I get out of therapy, whenever I've like, I think it was someone in the office had been, from my perspective, bullied pretty significantly. And it was someone that like did not deserve that. And I'm like watching it all unfold. I also, there were a lot of like podcasts and things I had listened to around the time. But I'm watching it all unfold and I just was sitting there. I had some like health issues, which I was learning was tied to this unhappiness, because your body will know. Like your body knows better than anything else. And I've also at this point done like 3 years of therapy after Shauna passed. Shauna's not there anymore. One of the loves of my life, I know that Sandy, who is like major love of my life, also classiest woman I know.
Yeah.
I know she's not going to be there forever. And I'm sitting there like,
what would you have left then?
yeah, like what am I doing this for? And like if I choose to start a family at some point and I'm able to do that, like what kind of version of myself am I going to be to my kids? Because I'm just in this miserable place, like absolutely miserable. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I had. And I think I had such huge opportunities there, but it's like, when are those going to present themselves down the road? Like 20 years from now? Like, is it worth it? Like, and even then, will things be run the way that I think they should be run?
Right.
Like, so I'm having all of these thoughts, and I'm sitting on the couch crying to my husband. This was like in February of this year, and I'm just like, yeah, I have to quit. Like, I have to be done. And he looked at me, and he was just like, it was the most like supportive conversation, like why I love him so much, part of it, because he was just like,
okay.
Yeah, he was just like, okay, you're right.
And you're like, is there more? Is it allowed?
Yeah, like that was really
do a follow up.
He's very like, unless he's like heated, because he grew up kind of in New York for a little bit, and so he'll get this like New York accent, but he didn't do any of that. He's just very calm. Like, you're right. Like essentially like giving me the permission almost,
or like the encouragement. Yes.
Like I needed that permission. I had no idea what I was going to do next. Because I'm not someone that's like, I'm someone that struggled with imposter syndrome forever, because being in this profession, you will not see a lot of young women in the courtroom. I like was thinking about this whenever I put my heels on today, because I used to be so anti heels. But I really, because I was like, I want people to
take you seriously.
Yeah, you want to be taken seriously, but it's like I want people to like see me and think, oh, well, okay, if I want to be a female attorney, do I have to go and wear heels now?
Right.
Do I, like, can I wear flats? Can I wear pants? Like, what am I allowed? Because that's what I'm thinking whenever I'm looking at all of these other women, you know, that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, well, they don't do that, so should I do that? So basically I'm going into court all the time. No one speaks to me. No one. Like, so I just try to be as nice as possible where I can. And I got a lot more confidence, like, the more I practice. But, like, my big people to talk to were the bailiffs. I'd always chat with them, tell them to have a good day. Like, so but it was really isolating because you see all these men in suits. They're all older than you. They don't want to talk to you because there's been this whole thing called the Me Too movement.
Right.
They talk to you. Maybe you're right. That's what I've attributed to.
Then it's been even more isolating for females, because beforehand it's like, well, you can't. They probably feel like they can't joke, they can't do anything else. And on the one hand, yeah, you should reel it back in, because some men have gotten out of control. Right. But on the other hand, then it further isolates women in corporate environments, because companies don't want to hire a potential liability. They don't want to hire someone that's going to make them uncomfortable. They don't want to have these situations where it's like no one feels that way if you have a group of men, that someone's going to have an uncomfortable situation. But because of this thing, like you said, there's false accusations, and then there's truth, and then there's this whole world of nuance in between, where now people just don't want to have, well, like, if we just don't invite her, no one can complain they were harassed. Yeah. So don't invite her. And then here's you, a professional trying to just succeed in this field that's so heavily male dominated, being left out because of things beyond your control. And it's like, was that progress? And in some ways I think that, yeah, it was a conversation that needed to be had. But on the other side, was it progress? Right. Or did it, set us back?
And you're trying to, I mean, and that's me like justifying why people weren't friendlier to me. But I mean, there were months on months on months where I would go to a courtroom. There would not be a single other attorney, except for maybe the prosecutor if they're forced to talk to me about the case. Like, nobody's saying hello to you. No one's asking you how you are. And it's like, I don't know if it's because of where I work. I don't know if it's because I'm a young female and they think I don't know what I'm doing. But like, so I'm always like, if I make myself as least threatening as possible, then maybe, like, if I don't inconvenience anyone, I stay in my corner and I just am not threatening to anyone. I'm not here to think that I'm better than anyone, because I'm not, like, then maybe people will like open up and be a little bit friendlier to me. And I wouldn't say that ever like really occurred, but you're like basically going to court every day in like the lunchroom, essentially, whenever you're in a courtroom, and you've got all these people talking to each other. Nobody wants to talk to you. And you're just like, even like other female attorneys, like they're not even,
there's
like,
no camaraderie.
Yeah. And it's just like, what am I doing? So I never in a million years would have like thought, and then on top of that, you're trying to know what you're doing every day, like, and keep up with that. And like, do I know that rule? Do I know this? Like, which you do, but you're second guessing yourself
Of course,
all
yeah.
the time. So you're trying to figure that out. So never in a million years did I think, oh,
I want to
run
run my
firm.
Right.
Well, I get out of therapy one day after I'd made the decision to quit, and I talked to someone that I think extremely high of, that has been in this field for a long time, has worked down in the area where I'm at, and they were like, they just said it to me like the most
Like obvious answer.
It was like not implying that I was like stupid, but just like, are you feeling okay? Like, obviously you're going to open your own firm and this is what you're going to do. And you don't have to do, you know, open your own firm, do criminal defense. Like, you know what you're doing. You have a great reputation, which is all you have in this business. You have your reputation. Like, do you have credibility that what you say and how you treat your clients? Like, and I would like to think that I have that.
Right.
So hearing that, I was like, and they're like, do you really want to work for somebody else? Like, you've worked for somebody else for 9 years. And I'm like, I guess that makes sense. And they're like, everybody's retiring down there that does criminal defense. Like, we need more people. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, that's my hometown. That's where I live. Like, I would never want people to like go without, you know, or have to like potentially pay more or get less because they're down here versus located somewhere else. And so it was just like the most obvious.
Like God timing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, it was absolutely God timing. We talked about that because I
maybe you wouldn't have been ready before, and then the environment wouldn't have been ready, and everything else. Like, it has to be personal, it has to be environmental. All the circumstances kind of have to line up for you to be able to jump ship almost and spread your wings and start your own firm. And also, I think with me leaving to start my social media business, it was terrifying, but at the same time, it just feels like I don't have to have a brick and mortar building. I don't have to have staff. I don't have to have, I'm assuming, a special kind of insurance as an attorney. And it was still terrifying to leave and go do my own thing. And it almost felt like, is this allowed? Because I didn't grow up in a really entrepreneurial family. And it was more like you get a good job. That's it. Yeah. You don't start a company. So then my husband was the same way. He was so supportive and his family was so supportive. And so was mine, but we just didn't have that same background. But the fact that everyone's like, oh, you can just start your own then. It was like it never crossed my mind.
Obvious thing, and you're like, is this obvious?
And
yes, nobody's out here telling women to
just
do
do it yourself. Yeah.
But I started reading this book, 2 Weeks Notice by Amy Porterfield or something, and
you're gonna have to start like a book list.
I know, I'm gonna have to list all of these out. But and it just like it makes sense for women to be doing this because corporate needs like are not being met for women. Like, there is a big loss with like law firm or corporate business, like retention of women because we have different needs than our male counterparts. And, you know, you think about like maternity leave, but even taking that off the table, there's just so many elements.
Well, I've even heard different things talking about how fewer women get hired in corporate positions because they know that if the kids get sick, it's mom that takes off work. If someone forgets their lunch, it's mom that has to leave. If something happens, then you have maternity leave. And it's not something that's, you know, no one says it out loud, but it's one of those things that employers have admitted. You get more work from a man because they don't shoulder that same responsibility at home. And even good involved present fathers just tend to be the second parent in comparison to the mom, who is the one that's, you know, having to leave early or going on the field trips or doing everything else. And that's so unfortunate that you have to choose between, you know, kind of one or the other. Yeah.
And like, how are you going to do a good job at both? And one of the things that, you know, in leaving, I did say, like, I don't like this version of myself, you know, and I'm thinking about starting a family at some point, but I really hope that the narrative isn't, oh, well, she quit so that she can go and start a family because she is a woman. And then like, you don't hire another woman again because you're like, well, they're just going to run off and start a family. And it's like, there's so much more to that situation. But I mean, as far as like God's timing, like I have that conversation on like a Wednesday. Literally Thursday, I get 2 referrals for clients that were like big cases that wanted to deal with me. And then Friday, I get this Women's Justice Award like nomination.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, God is telling me that like
you can do
it's
this.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it will all be okay.
Yeah.
And so if I could draw out like this experience for the last like 60 days of just like, I feel like every day is literally a roller coaster. Like I'm so high whenever I get a client because I still am working on like getting my name out there and doing all of that stuff. So I'm like on the highest of high because I'm like,
so y'all commit some crimes so that she can defend you.
Get those speeding tickets. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, someone would trust me because you still have that imposter syndrome. So you're like, someone would, like, I've had other attorneys refer me cases. So that is like the highest honor aside from like having a client say, hey, I trusted her, send her, because, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, people think that I can do this. Okay, maybe I can do this. And then you go to one day and the phone doesn't ring and you're like,
do I suck? Actually, you think it was a fluke. You're like, oh, that was just, like, it was a mistake. Yeah. And I still have that. I'm 3 years into self-employment and I still have times if I have a slow month or if I lose a client or someone doesn't renew, I still have times where I'm like, oh, this is it. Like it was just a fluke. I got by for 3 years. Yeah. Now the truth is coming out almost. Like that was just happenstance.
Yes, like I'm being exposed for what, like this was so, yeah, you're so right on like that, which is the worst, like.
Because whenever something good happens, you don't think that's a reflection of you. When something good, I never think, this is the truth. This is proof that I'm as good as I think that I am or that people say that I am. You always think the bad things are the truth. So whenever something negative happens and you aren't succeeding or things aren't going your way, even for a short time period when the implications are really not that far spread, then that's somehow the truth. So why do we never think that the good things that happen to us are proof that we're actually as good as we think we are? It's always the bad things that are proof that we aren't as good, you know?
You're always looking for that validation.
Yes.
Like, and that's what I was telling you before we started. We had a small conversation. But I was telling you, like, that book, I was going back through it last night, The Way of Integrity, and one of the exercises is, like, you ask yourself, like, is this true?
Yeah.
Can this absolutely be true? So, like, do I actually suck? Like, is that true? Do people actually think that I'm completely incompetent and don't know what I'm doing? Like, if I don't have anything to support that mentality, then why am I, like, repeating that and just, like, engaging in all of this suffering because of my own thought process?
Right.
Instead of just, like, being present and just questioning those really negative thoughts. But I also think, like, plug for, like, women to be in this profession, I would say specifically criminal defense, because I think we're so needed in this profession, because you need these people, you are seeing them at literally the worst moment of their entire life. So if you're not going to meet that with empathy and compassion, like, you have no business being in criminal defense. You just don't. Like, and if you're doing this just to, like, make money, like, also good luck.
Go to
like,
class action law. Go somewhere else.
Like 20,000 buried in their backyard. So it's just like there's so many aspects that I think that women bring such a unique perspective to it. And I think you have to. I think it's a lot easier for us to, like, be vulnerable and kind of meet people where they're at, because we haven't had this whole, like, macho. Men don't cry.
Just the bravado of everything.
Yeah, like, there's so many different levels of it. So I think I've tried to figure out a lot of, like, strengths and, like, what are my strengths that, like, I
love that you play into that, and you're not thinking, like, I need to be more masculine, I need to be more like them. But the fact that you're here now, because that's one of the biggest things that I feel like I've learned is that whenever I first went out on my own, I came from a background of credit analysis and commercial lending. So I worked with predominantly men.
Story of, like, going to the different meetings, like, all, like,
I approached it like it was a loan meeting, like it was loan committee where you have to present all the financials and everything else. So my first few pitches that I would schedule, I had print out folders for everyone that I was attending meetings with. I would break it down based on, okay, here's how much you would spend in a year's time. Here's how much you're spending. Say if I was pitching to a bank to go do their social media, I would say, here's how much you're spending on a part-time teller. Say it's, I don't know, $25,000 a year. Break it down by month, break it down by what I'm asking for, break it down by how much money it can bring in, literally giving them everything, the ROI. Here's how much I think this, here's how much that. Giving them every analytic. I'm in my, like, pressed little blazer and my little pencil skirt. So professional.
I love it.
And it took me a while to realize, like, I'm having more success and more referrals from my personal Instagram, from my personality, from people who know me for me, and not people who, like, they're not hiring an accountant. They're not hiring, a financial advisor. They're hiring someone to do their social media. They want a young girl who's with the trends, who understands what's going on, because they already have their tax guy. They already have somebody who can give them all these things. They are hiring me for me. And if they wanted someone who ran an agency who was a suit, they would hire them. So the fact that they're coming to me means that they want my strengths, and for me to pretend to be someone else or try and emulate someone who isn't me is completely making me lose out from, the reason that they're approaching me in the first place. So the same thing is true with you. If they wanted a suit, they would hire them. Like they want you for your empathy and your strengths and the grace that you bring and, like, the different ways you can approach the case. They're not hiring you because they think that you should act like someone else.
Right. And I think once you, like, realize that, it just takes a lot of growth and time. Like I think it took me probably 2 full years to be like, ooh, do I actually know what I'm doing? Like, do I maybe know what I'm doing here? This is exciting, you know? And
then you'll have another one where you're like, I don't.
Yep, it's that roller coaster.
Yep.
And
but I think it keeps you humble. And truly with self-employment, like I think that's why you have to have faith, or why I have needed my faith to get through this, is because if I didn't, I would have tanked. Like I wouldn't have made it through the first 2 months, because sometimes I feel like when things are going well, God is sustaining me, everything is going great. And then you have to revisit your faith, because then things go down. But inevitably, like things always go like this, and you have to have almost that anchor to understand, like you can't get too high when things are good, because the pride comes for the fall. You can't get too low when things are bad. Like you almost have to keep yourself even keel, so that whenever I have these great months where my billables are super high, I feel amazing. I'm like, I'm on top of the freaking world, girl boss, whatever. Then inevitably next month tanks. And I'm like, great. So I suck at everything. So you have to
exposed.
Yes.
God, I've been exposed.
Exactly. You almost have to keep your ego from getting too high when things are good, and keep your self-worth high when things are bad. So you have to be completely even. And that's a really hard lesson to learn, because especially with, financial success, that's so easy to define yourself by. So whenever I started making good money, it's so easy to be like, I'm that successful. Like I am successful, that dollar amount's worth. And then if you have that and that's how you define yourself, it's great when it's great. But then if it's taken away, does your worth go with it? Like what if I have kids? I just decide to be a stay-at-home mom. Does my worth disappear with that figure, because that's all I've been using to define myself as? Right. And I don't know what my decision will be when the time comes, but I don't want to be tied to that, So it's just such a complicated thing whenever you enter into the realm of self-employment. But okay, we've been talking for an hour and a half. I have a few follow-up questions. Yes. I'm going to do 2 quick things. Okay. We're going to do quick definitions about the legal profession.
I'm like,
okay, what's perjury?
Perjury?
It's not a pop quiz. I just need you to explain it to everyone in layman's terms. Perjury.
Oh gosh, didn't say, So perjury, like basically if you lie under oath. So if you, let's say, the best example would be like filing a false police report. Let's say that you say that your son took your car and hit a tree, but really like you hit a tree, and then you take the stand to testify against your son to say that your son took the car and hit the tree, but really it was you, like you've just perjured yourself. Or I had a very fascinating case where it was a DWI blood draw. Guy claimed that the blood wasn't his, and wouldn't agree to any like settlement. So we did a DNA test on the blood. Blood was his. Shocker.
Crazy.
Who would have known?
Crazy.
But he testified before I had gotten involved on the stand, saying that it wasn't his, like under oath. So then guess what? You're gonna maybe get charged with perjury. So yeah.
Interesting.
That is perjury.
And okay, what's indictment?
Oh gosh. Indictment is basically like, so starting the criminal process, you can either go through like an information or an indictment. So it's 2 different documents. An information is where it's like you're going through that preliminary hearing process. An indictment is basically like, normally it's associated with a grand jury. So they bring in this secret group of jurors. They do a secret presentation that criminal defense attorneys get no access to.
Love that.
And then they say, ooh, we think there's probable cause that this person committed a crime. And you skip the preliminary hearing process.
Go straight to
to where you're going into trial eventually.
Okay. Let me think. What's another fun one that we can define?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. There's so many different like legal terms. I mean, like you could do a whole thing on like
that would be
like, the different like
I just think it's so interesting.
Have, like reasonable suspicion to stop you, like to believe, basically like more than a hunch to think that a crime was committed.
That brings me to my next little thing. Okay, so if someone finds himself in a situation where they've committed a crime, what, as their criminal defense attorney, what's like, don't do this before you talk to your attorney? Like what's the ideal situation if you had to advise someone? Not that we're saying commit crimes, but like say speeding ticket, say something has gone wrong. Like what are the things that you would advise people to do that sets them up for more favorable outcomes in their cases?
So if you can just like blast this in big bold letters on this part and get some word art going or something.
Flashing. Oh yeah.
Do not talk to the police without your lawyer present.
Period.
that being said, like, if you get stopped for a speeding ticket, do not be an asshole.
Yeah.
Also,
Fair.
like, don't recommend you being an asshole. Like, no, they need probable cause to search your car. No, you don't have to, like, agree with them on everything, but you do have to be respectful. Sandy, that was in our office, she was, like, the best at this, but she would always, her first question whenever people would call about what they had been, like, accused of, she'd be like, but were you polite to the officer? But were you polite? And I stand by that. Because,
be a polite criminal.
yeah, like you are not going to get anywhere. If you think that you're going to argue about this TikTok that you saw and this TikTok told you that you didn't have to do X, Y, and Z, well, you've just pissed off that cop. That cop is you're probably potentially making more money than this person. This person is out here being a public servant, and now you're going to, like, basically get into a pissing contest with them.
Right. They're probably not going to let you off with a warning.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's a good idea? Like, let's look back to like, Morgan Wallen, Zach Bryan, like, where he got that little exchange in Oklahoma. Like, just be, everybody's trying to do their job.
Yeah. Especially in today's day and age, like, I know there's mixed feelings about the police force, so I'm sure they go into their job every day and they're like, who's filming me? Who's trying to make me go viral on TikTok? Who's trying to prove that I'm doing this? So they're probably already on the defensive more so than ever before, because they're like, someone's trying to get me fired, every traffic stop, everything else. And I know that it goes both ways. You know, there's a whole discourse about that. But I think that if you go into it, you know, metaphorical guns a-blazing, then they're going to do the same thing back to you.
Do not meet fire with fire. I say that with like a caveat, because being a young blonde female,
right,
doing, like, having trials, having hearings, you're automatically going to be underestimated all the time, which, like, you can use to your advantage. I am not going to get cross with someone, and I am going to do my best to never be disrespectful to someone, no matter the situation. But that said, like, if you think that you're going to, like, show me by being a total jerk to me on the stand, you are making yourself look like an asshole.
Right.
And, like, the court sees it, my client sees it. Like, just, it's not necessary.
Well,
like,
composure always goes further than hostility in every situation.
And I would never say that I could do their job better. I would never want to do their job. But I'm like, you know, this is part of your job. Like, coming to testify because you get called to court, like, that's part of your job. But also, part of your job is, like, doing it right, and you can probably always learn from something. And so if you're not going to, like, do a good investigation, then, and you're going to be, you know, not giving your best effort, well, you're going to get asked questions about that.
Right.
It is what it is. But if you, the guns a-blazing, like, the number of, like, DWI cases that I've had where the pre-booking, which is, like, pre-booking, this is a term.
Ooh.
Basically, you get arrested, you're going to jail. While you're in the jail, they're recording you. Shocker, most of the time.
Yeah.
So if you're acting like an idiot, or even while you're being transported to the jail, there's going to be maybe dash cam video of you. So if you're screaming, like, derogatives at the cop,
it probably has to make you look innocent.
they are going to play that at your sentencing. And if you are looking to go to jail, that is a very quick way to get there. So it's just like, you have to assume that, like, you're always being recorded.
I've also heard that too. Like, don't send anything, don't post anything, don't do you know, email anything that you wouldn't want
the number of
called
people
into trial.
that, like, get a DWI and then they're, like, set for sentencing, meaning the judge is going to find them, like, you've already pled guilty or you've been found guilty, and it's just like, are you going to jail? Are you getting a conviction? What's going to happen to you? The number of people that, like, I had someone, not my client, thank God, but they, like, wore a shirt into their sentencing where the judge is deciding their fate that said, I make bad decisions. And I'm just like, I'm not saying that you maybe had other shirts, but I mean, you could have just, like, turned it inside out, like, or you're gonna
ask me for
pictures, like, drinking, or we have people that are
they're pulling up your
sex
Snapchat
offenses.
story,
and then they're, like, posting pictures with little kids, and you're like, so, like, in what universe does this equate to, like,
innocence,
a good idea? Yeah, like, it doesn't look good.
It's just like that video that went viral where the guy was attending his hearing virtually, and he had his license revoked, and he's attending it while he's driving. Like, he's got the thing zoomed on, and the judge is like, I'm sorry, let me make sure I have this straight. Your license has been suspended for 6 months, and you're taking this call while you're driving? And he's like, yes, sir, that is correct. And everyone in the room is just like,
That
what?
is one thing about this job. Like, or how about the thing that went viral of the guy, like, he's at his sentencing or his hearing, and he jumps across the podium thing to attack the judge. Did you see that?
No.
And the judge still decided his fate, like, in a later sentencing, after he jumped and, like, attacked them while they were on the bench. I mean, it's like some things, this job is so interesting because I'm very nosy. And so, like, being in the know, I get all
That's why I liked working in credit analysis, because I saw everyone's tax returns.
Yes.
I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like common sense goes a long way, but like don't be posting stuff on social media. Just shut it down. But like, the biggest thing is people that think, well, I'm innocent. I'm going to go tell the cop how innocent I am. Guess what? They probably do not share the same sentiment or like belief that you're innocent. And they're not like you having this conversation. Like you're not, just shut up. Yeah. They can't do anything if you shut up.
Give them nothing.
Like,
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I mean, if you're speeding, it is what it is. Like also people that want to have like a trial on their speeding tickets. Like I'm not saying I'm not here to fight for you, but I'm saying that we're going to go a lot farther if I don't go in there guns blazing like this is a lie. The cop lied. Like just like in a DWI, the assumption is that the cop was not drinking when they pulled you over.
Right. So obviously someone's opinion is weighted more than the other ones to begin with. Right.
Yes. And so, but the biggest thing is like, just don't.
So don't talk to the police. Don't be hostile. Don't be aggressive. Don't wear a shirt that says "I wear bad decisions" to your to your trial, and then call you.
Yeah. I had a rape case where the guy was literally hitting on the judge's clerk during his rape trial, and I'm just like,
you said I can't help you.
That is not. Yeah. Like that is not. One of the attributes I would look for in like a potential suitor.
Right. Correct. Right. What did he think that was going to? Yeah.
Like,
and then like, what does he think that's going to yield down the road? Oh, when I saw him on trial for his, I just knew he was the one. Like, what do we think is going to come from this? Wow. Well, what a great note.
On that note.
So, and you're headed into court later today, right?
I am. Yep.
Oh, very exciting. I just think that's so crazy. I have so many questions. This has officially been the longest episode yet. I love it so much. I could seriously go on and on and on. I think that you are incredible. I think that you have the most amazing story. I admire your humility. I admire the work that you've put in to get to the place that you're in. I think that the fact that you don't shy away from being an adorable, blonde, beautiful girl in this field, I think that's admirable.
Hot and bothered, like hot flash.
Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? No, but I truly think that that's something that I think it's great that you've retained your femininity, because I think so often you feel pressured to like, you should be austere, slick back bun, no crazy makeup, no colors. You should emulate, a man. And I think it's great that you are still so stylish and you're still, embracing all of those things. I think there's so much to be learned from you. I hope that I don't have to work with you in the future, but if I am, it would be an honor. And I think that it's great what you're doing for, your town and your city and being a great resource that they can count on getting the best defense, even if they don't live in a big city. So many compliments, so much love for you. I think you're fantastic.
Replays this every morning I get ready.
Yeah, make it your alarm tone every morning. Like, you rock. Do you want to plug your social media? Give a shout out to everything so we can find you.
My sister, so she would be mad. So Tegan with Local Socials, she did pick out this blazer. So I bought it, but she did pick it out. So I do have to like give her
style cred. Style cred for sure.
Oh my gosh, we're Flying V in Monette. That would be the blazer.
Amazing.
As far as social media, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Connect with me on any of those, but also LinkedIn. We are at ssmolaw.com/ that's like the handle for everything, I think. And yeah, if you have any like tickets or issues, I mean, any like,
because you practice outside of the area too. Yeah.
So I'll go most places. I'll come up to Springfield from Aurora. My office is in Mount Vernon. I hope to have like a little welcoming party whenever I first am finally like officially in it.
Amazing.
But yeah, seriously, like if anybody wants to go to law school or just has questions, like there are absolutely no stupid questions, and like just don't think that you can't do something.
No, you're fantastic. You're a badass. I admire you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this little podcast with us. It's seriously been such a pleasure, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. If you made it to this far, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and I will see you next week. Bye.